Well, good morning, Jill. It's so nice to have you here.
Morning.
And, well, let's start from the beginning. Would you tell us who you are, what you do here at Pitt, and...
Sure. So my name is Jill Millstone. I'm an associate professor in the chemistry department. I also have appointments in material science and engineering, as well as in chemical engineering, because we work in nanomaterials, which kind of span the gap between science and engineering. So it's great to have the opportunity to interact with all different kinds of faculty. I think it expands what we do.
Great, great. So again, we'll go back way back when. Did you always know you wanted to be a scientist or a chemist more specifically, or how did that come?
Definitely not. I definitely did not know. I didn't even know that there was a chemistry profession until way into my undergraduate work. I always was interested in the world around me. I mean, I can remember being very little and trying to explain things to my dad, just making up things, how does blood circulate? And I would try to think about how blood circulated or why a tree was the way that it was. But over time, I started to realize that science was the way that we explain those types of things and the way that we learn the kind of depth and the beauty of what's going on around us. But I also have always been interested in history and literature and really anything that tells us about how things are around us, whether it's humans or nature. That has always been an interest. And I got interested in chemistry when I started doing chemistry research at CMU, which is where I did my undergraduate work.
Yes. Just to go back on the fact that you say you're also interested in literature, and you have actually a dual degree in English and chemistry.
I do, yeah. I think the way that we communicate as humans, the way that we try to understand and make sense of some of the very complex things that happen to us or that we experience as humans, I think literature can be an incredible tool to communicate and work through those processes, just like science is a way for us to understand and improve our daily life, So I think they feed back on one another. Great.
And you said your first interaction with chemistry was in undergrad. Was that the turning point?
It definitely was. As a good little nerdy teenager, I was very interested in viruses at the time, and I thought, for sure I'm going to be a virologist, and I'm going to go in Africa, and I'm going to find the origin of all these viruses. But then I started taking chemistry classes, and I loved thinking about how molecules come together and what are the driving forces for how you make a particular molecule or a particular material. And it started to really captivate my interests. And eventually I switched my major from biology to chemistry, and the rest is history.
But the ride has it always been smooth up to where you are right now, or?
No. Even when I graduated from graduate school, I still wasn't sure whether I wanted to become a faculty member or not. I thought, well, maybe I'll become a doctor, or maybe I'll go into, there's all kinds of alternative careers besides academia for science. But as I got closer and closer to making a decision about what field I wanted to go into, I just wasn't ready to leave the tools and the people and the questions that you get to work with every day in science. And then in my postdoc, I realized, okay, I think being a professor is that's my calling.
So what would you say to young women, for example, who are not just young women, students who are there, who are doing, working their way through university, and maybe they know, maybe they don't know what they want to do?
I think the most important thing to do is to be very honest with yourself about the things that you want from life and the things that make you happy and the things that you can contribute. There's all different kinds of ways to contribute to society and to the world as a scientist. I was just talking to a student about how scientists going into things like marketing or communications is a huge and needed area where we don't have a very strong presence, but would be as transformational as discovering, a new alloy for airplanes. Because helping the broader community understand and enjoy what science can bring to your everyday life, it would be an amazing contribution. So I think you have to find what you love, and then you will be able to put your passion into that, and then that makes you an excellent contributor, whatever you decide to do, you know?
Yeah, great. Now I do have to ask the one question, right?
Sure.
As a woman in science, how did you perceive it, the field? How did you perceive the interactions with other people, especially in bias?
Yeah, it's very interesting. You know, I have to be honest with you. I never even thought about being a woman in science until I became a faculty member. I was extremely lucky. You know, I grew up in a family where my dad always told me, and my mom always told me, anything you want to do, you do, as long as you put your whole effort into it and you do your best at it. In undergrad, I had excellent mentors. As a graduate student and as a postdoc, my mentors were extremely encouraging. I never perceived ever having any different treatment than my male counterparts did. But once I became a faculty member, I definitely saw that there are practical differences in the way that men and women are perceived and have to go about navigating the world of professorship, and I assume any leadership position. And it's not a result of conscious biases, and sometimes not even a result of biases, but of natural differences. Right now, I'm currently experiencing the natural difference of pregnancy.
Oh, yes.
And there is an unavoidable difference in what it means to be pregnant for 9 months and try to work versus a man having a child during those 9 months. And these are things that have practical implications that I think if we're more comfortable talking about, we can help to bring parity to the opportunities that are here for both men and women. And I think both men and women, the vast majority of scientists, are committed to trying to make those changes, which I find really encouraging.
That is good to hear. Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I have yet to talk to someone who is not committed to that kind of effort. But I think being able to have honest conversations about it, and also welcoming people who have divergent points of view, is important. Because if everyone's not a part of the conversation, you know, even naysayers or, you know, strong promoters, we have to have everybody together in order to make some kind of forward progress, I think.
Do you think that should involve students too? For example, I'm pretty sure a young woman in grad school would think twice about having a baby or a family, because it's very hard, and maybe the advisor will not be very comprehensive.
Absolutely. It has to involve students, and I think it has to involve students for a lot of reasons. You bring up one of those reasons. I think also because it's hard for us, once we've made it to a particular station in the sciences, it's hard for us to know how our behaviors or our position influences the thoughts and the directions of other students. And, you know, you bring up a great example of having children in grad school. Very complicated issue. As a PI and also as a woman, it's complicated for me to think about.
Yes, that's true. Well, you're going to be a busy mom soon, and you're a busy researcher, you're a busy professor. How is that shaping up in terms of trying to balance everything? Or I guess you won't be thinking about it too much in a few months.
Well, you know, I'm already thinking about it a lot, and of course, it's one of these things that I think anybody who is in a field where they're passionate, they want to do the best job they can with anything that they do. And that's certainly true for me and for every parent I know in the sciences. You want to be the best parent and the best scientist and the best professor and the best teacher. And so figuring out how to balance that drive with the realities of a 24-hour day is, I think it's a constant give and take. But I think if everyone involved in the process, everyone in your work, everyone in your family knows that you are making a good faith, strong effort, I think you have a team, you start to build a team effort. I know in my group they've been incredibly supportive as we go into this new adventure of me having a baby, and I think that that's echoed everywhere. There's no easy way to do it, and for every parent, and I think for every person, there's always a moment where they feel some unresolvable tension between the two. And that's unfortunate, but probably also unavoidable. Yeah, in my group, we have a very clear policy that family always comes first. You know, if your parents need you or your kids need you, there shouldn't ever be any complication there. That has to come first. Yeah.
What about in your whole pathway? What was your biggest challenge up to now? It can be scientific. It can be maybe just a little story that you can share with us.
You know, I think, to be honest with you, there's probably two big challenges that I face, and I'm not sure that they're ever going to be done. One is trying to contribute something, trying to figure out what is my work going to mean for the broader public, for my students, for the world, trying to do something that will be a concrete contribution that can help human beings, you know, both on the small level and the large level. How do we do that, but also solve the day-to-day problems that arise in a science group? And I think also, just personally for me, I have so many interests. You know, I love Pittsburgh history is a niche interest of mine. And, you know, there's so many things that I'm interested in and that I want to do. I'm constantly trying to figure out how can I commit my entire self to being the best nanochemist that I can be, which it does require your full effort, but also satisfy this interest in the broader world and try to make them work together synergistically as opposed to parasitically. So I think those are two things that, you know, on the personal and then on the scientific level that I wrestle with, and I probably always will.
And on the other hand, you have a favorite moment or a favorite accomplishment or just a fond memory that you...
I have so many great memories from being in the lab and working with, you know, my friends who are also my fellow students and postdocs. And I think in some ways that's what keeps you going. Are both the really bad moments where you've been working on an experiment for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then maybe you dropped something or you forgot to add something and you're like, oh my God, you know, and it's so bad, and then you shout across the lab and you're like, Dave, it just all went, you know, you all went south. And that moment of commiserating or that moment of discovery, I can remember the first discovery I made as a graduate student and the postdoc I was working with just turning to me and saying, this is very good. This is very good. And I was like, really? This is good? Great news. Okay, I'm going to survive, you know? And in all these little moments, I hope that, I hope my students feel that. I hope my undergrads get to feel that when they're in class and they're like, oh, that's how this works, you know? I think those little moments of discovery and camaraderie, those all add up together to make the experience really exciting.
You speak very fondly of your advisors. It looks like you have a very good rapport with them. Are they your role model? Do you have a role model, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I have been unbelievably lucky in mentors. You know, my undergraduate advisor, Rick McCullough, my graduate advisor, Chad Merkin, and my postdoctoral advisors. These are people who had such strong examples of leadership and scientific ingenuity. And they also are incredibly supportive of their students, which really showed me that it's not just about your own success, but that your student's success is your success, and that every student represents this broader family. And so I've just been incredibly lucky in that way. And so they certainly are role models for me, and even after I got into science as a PI, I've been lucky to meet new people who have also served as mentors. You know, specifically female mentors have been some of my friends that I've met through science, and just watching how gracefully they manage things like children and leadership in their departments and putting together huge grants that span 12 PIs, and watching how they do that and how they also maintain a spirit of excitement and engagement really helps me stay focused and also stay hopeful when I'm tired and I'm like, there's not an idea left. I don't have, when those moments come, it's very helpful to have people who are like you and have made it to the other side. So I think that's one of the biggest things that we talk about in diversity that really resonates with me. When you see someone like yourself succeeding or overcoming, it really helps. In some very subconscious level, it really helps you to take the steps you need to take.
Okay, well, I asked all my questions. Now maybe you want to say something that you hold very dear, or that you really, a message that you want spread out that I haven't brought up. And
well, let's see. I mean, I think one of the scientists that I often will read whenever I want inspiration or thinking about it is Richard Feynman, because I think he not only is he the father of the field that we do our research in, but also I think he has this incredible attitude towards science where he talks about scientific integrity and the role of being comfortable with doubt, and how doubt is not a bad thing but a great thing. It helps us discover new things all the time and to get deeper and deeper and closer to this truth that is nature. And he talks about the beauty of the world through that lens, and I think that's true. And so I hope that no matter what kind of science exposure you have, I hope that it gives people a window into what is majestic and beautiful around us and what we as humans can do. Science is an enormous source of optimism. Right. So,
well, that's a very positive conclusion. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. And
well, thanks for the opportunity.
For you and for baby.
Thank you.
And I will look forward to your talk.
Thank you so much. Thank you.